Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the latest SANDATA webinar. This is part 2 of the series. The series is the ins and outs of insourcing versus outsourcing your revenue cycle management. Part 2 is how to select and contract with an outsourced vendor. So let's get into the meat of the subject. First of all, my name is Phil Feldman, and I am National Director of Revenue Cycle Management for SANDATA Technologies. I have been in home care for 23 years in just about every position and every type of home care agency that there is out there, from custodial, non-medical home care to pediatrics to skilled services to infusion, to DME. And I have been with SANDATA for about 9 years, and I have been with SANDATA Revenue Cycle Management, which is the revenue cycle outsourcing offering of SANDATA. We offer this to SANDATA customers and non-SANDATA customers. The beauty of what we do is that we can work in any system, either SANDATA or non-SANDATA. So just to recap, let's go back to part 1. If you either missed it or if you remember it, basically we talked about what is outsourcing, what does it consist of, what components are there of the revenue cycle, and what are the opportunities to outsource those various components? Why would we want to outsource in the first place? What advantages does it bring? How can I determine if my agency would benefit by that? And then we also went through an interesting calculation which flushes out the return on investment of outsourcing. So weighing the costs of outsourcing versus the costs that are eliminated in your organization versus the potential benefits, and then ultimately calculating the return on investment of making that move. Today, we're going to talk about the next step in the process, which is, okay, I've evaluated, I've determined what my needs are, I've done the analysis and review that we talked about in part 1, and I've decided I want to either take the plunge or put a toe in the water or check further to see what my opportunities are with service providers in the outsourcing community. So how do we evaluate a potential outsourcing partner? And the way I look at it is I don't like to call them vendors. I'd rather call them a partner, because they are and should become an integral part of your organization. Something as important as revenue cycle and maximizing your revenue and maximizing your cash flow, which is the lifeblood of your agency, should be taken on by a partner and not just a vendor. We can look through the different service models, components of outsourcing, what are the opportunities for different methods of pricing, and then once we come and we conclude on all of that, how do we create an agreement with the vendor, and what are the required components in there that will protect me and my agency and ensure that we get the best possible service and have the best possible experience. So let's take a look first at the vendor qualifications. And I typically, when I look at this, I break it into 3 areas. What is their expertise? What's their ability to operate in my environment? What kind of an organization do they have that's going to support that and support the services that I get? And what kind of service can I get from them? And what kind of service should I expect? And ultimately, should I contract for? So when we look at expertise, certainly they should be knowledgeable of our industry. So home care, IDD, they certainly need to understand that, and typically the component of the industry that you're in. So like I mentioned before, non-custodial home care, which could consist of private pay and just, it could be home health aides, it could be care, companions. am I in that part of the industry? Am I providing any type of skilled services? Am I providing skilled services to adults? Is it, post-discharge, post-hospital discharges, short-term cases? Is it long-term skilled? Is it pediatrics where we have kids on trachs and vents? While yes, it's different types of services, but the billing works differently, the authorization process works differently, and you need someone who understands that and has experience with that. Are they knowledgeable about my state? Every state has a different operating environment. Every state has different payer types. So is it straight Medicaid? Is there Medicare involved? Is there managed care involved? Are they dealing with MCOs? How many MCOs am I dealing with? Do I have an aggregator through which my EVV and my claims have to be processed? Can that agency navigate the environment in the state that I'm in? Who are my payers? Do they know my payers? Do they have experience with the payers that I have? And that leads you to the programs that those payers are supporting. And it also leads to relationships. So, have they been through, I don't like to call it the wars, but have they been through experiences with the payers such that they know who to reach out to if something needs to be escalated? That can cut a lot of time off the process. And can they recognize the pitfalls that are out there up front? So to say, okay, I'm dealing with X MCO in this particular state, where the vendor should be asking, are you guys following this process? Are you checking the authorizations this way? Do you understand that this payer requires that you provide the services on the exact date and the exact times that authorization specifies, so that you're not going to get denied for that service? So having that experience can shortcut a lot of things, save you a lot of time, certainly improve performance. Technology. So do they understand the technology that you're using? So can they work in your system? Do they work in their own system? Each one has different benefits. If they're working in your system, you own the data. You can press a button and get rid of whatever reports you want. If you want to end that relationship, you don't have to worry about how am I going to get my data back. But then again, if they work in their own technology, so if they take your data from your system and move it into their system, they get you get the benefit of them being expert at that. Things are already set up with payers, with clearinghouses, et cetera. So there are advantages to that in terms of scaling on that side. Do they understand the processes of the industry that you are in? So if you remember in part one, if you attended part one, we talked about grabbing data and information from the back end of the revenue cycle process, which might mean rejections, which might mean denials. Can they swim back upstream through the revenue cycle process and recognize where the issues are to be able to instruct and guide you on things that you should be doing in your own shop to minimize those denials or end them and the rejections and prevent them from recurring? What kind of operations do they have? Do they have enough backup? Are they onshore? Are they offshore? Those are things that you want to understand. Each of them has their own benefits. Are they departmentalized? Or is there one individual that's responsible for handling everything on your account? If that's the case and they're doing everything for you, what happens when that individual goes on vacation? Do they have backup? Do they have departments that handle things? So is potentially, maybe a billing department, maybe that makes sure the claims go out the door, a payments department, and a collections department. So that works really well because what happens is the payments come in, the cash department grabs the payments from the portals or wherever they're coming in from, makes sure that they are applied quickly, peels off the denials from the EOBs and gets them into the collections group. It's a great way to operate. The other side of it is if they have one small group that handles everything soup to nuts, they become very experienced with you. So there are benefits, upsides and downsides to any way that their operation is organized. And you want to think about what works best for you and discuss that with the vendor. And then security. How secure is your data in their hands? So, do they have any security certifications? Do they, are they qualified from a security perspective to protect your data and ensure that the movement of the data from your system or their system into the payer's systems and back is a secure process? So all of that needs to be vetted. And I know, we have gone through, Sandata is high trust certified. We have worked with some large hospital systems on the revenue cycle side where they actually have their own security department and have vetted us from that perspective. And then you want to take a look at the organization. So what's their reputation? How well known are they? Are they, a small player, a large player? Each of those also has different advantages. Small player, you'll get a lot of attention, but they might not be as scalable as what you need. A large player, can, provide benefits in that regard as well. So you want to take a look at their reputation. Are they well known in the industry? Do they have a presence at conferences? Are there others? Can they, and then leading into references. So can they provide references? Is there anyone that has used them? Can they connect you with individuals who have used them successfully? But then, my recommendation is come up with your list of questions in advance before talking to a reference. You want to make sure that you're getting the information that you need from that reference, because references are typically cherry picked. How's their leadership? Are they communicative? Are they involved? Are they involved in your vetting process? Have you spoken with them? Are you dealing with the people who run the organization? Are you dealing with the people of responsibility? Do they understand the processes? Does it look like they know how to run a tight ship? And are they actively engaged? Is there backup? So we talked about this in terms of being scalable. So if people go on vacation, one of the things you're trying to avert is the lack of backup in your own organization. So do they have backup? Will things slow down if somebody goes out? Do they have key personnel who are so critical that they can't really function as well without those personnel around? So people are people. They go on vacation, they get sick, they go out on maternity or paternity leave, they leave. So you want to make sure that the organization has enough layers and is robust enough to support your operation, which is a 52-week-a-year activity. Can they focus? So, that goes back to the niche that they're in, that goes back to the specialization that they're in. Do they have, are they focused enough on, and can they focus on your business? This is not a cookie cutter. Every single agency that can operate in the same industry, same state with the same payers and programs, there are nuances. There are differences in how you operate. There are client-specific differences, patient-specific differences, all of that, and there are differences in your organization as well. So can they function? Can they focus on that? And are they specialized enough to be able to quickly determine how to manage their processes to suit your organization? Are they from a service culture? So are they aggressive? Will they follow what you're looking for? Are they just looking for the next big deal to come in the door? So they got your name on a contract, you go into a process, You basically are not getting the attention that you feel like you need. So is their culture one of service orientation? Is it a partnership oriented culture? Do you feel like they want to partner with you to maximize your success? And then what we alluded to all along, and we referenced this in a great extent also, is what is the kind of service that you're going to get? So what kind of reports can they generate? Are they willing to generate reports beyond, let's say, what your system can generate? Will they export things into Excel if it turns out that they need them, that you need them? So for, like I said, every agency is different. Every environment is different. No two agencies are alike, and you need to be able to have someone work with someone who expands their scope to what you need. So are they willing to create reports for you? So if, let's say, authorization renewals is an issue for you, it's not a strong point of your organization, will they create expiring authorization reports even if your system can't create them? Will they create payer-specific agings that drill down on certain issues that you're having? Will they create denial reports? What are the consultative aspects of their practice? So, are they willing, if there's an issue with, let's say, authorization interpretation and servicing according to an authorization, if, let's say, you're running out of units or whatever, and it turns out to be something that's occurring in your intake department where they're not interpreting authorizations and setting up the services correctly, are they willing to do an in-service for your intake department that would help your success, their success, et cetera? Or are they just going to continue banging their heads against the wall and appealing all of the authorizations and, potentially successfully, but you're dealing with the same issues over and over again when you could rectify the problem in the first place and prevent it from recurring and improve your cash flow at a much better clip. Are they willing? Is their staff trained? Are they willing to provide agency-specific training and system-specific training to their staff? Are they willing to train your staff, like we just talked about in the previous when we were talking about the consultativeness? How communicative are they? Are they going to call you every day when they see issues? Are they willing to have a formal meeting, weekly, monthly, semi-monthly, whatever it is, and whatever you ultimately end up graduating to as things smooth out? Are you going to get feedback? Are they willing to provide feedback and consulting and guidance on the things that are issues that are specific to your particular agency? Are they going to work your aged AR? So if you come on board with them, will they go back through your existing aged accounts receivable and work anything that is out there? Are they going to continue to pursue aged AR as it ages? So I had a friend who had a psychiatry practice, and he hired an outsource vendor. And basically all they did, which he didn't even realize because he didn't appropriately vet them and ask the questions, they sent his claims out and they appealed denials. But if, as things aged out, eventually they just kind of let it go. And, he went back one day and looked at his aging and looked at what was out there, and he was astounded at what they had left open. So you want to make sure you understand how they attack your aged receivables, because receivables always do age. Are they going to help you from an accounting perspective? So are they going to give you reports that help you post to your general ledger? Are they willing to work with your auditors to put together documentation? Will they give you guidance on the collectability of your accounts receivable and help you close your books at the end of every period? And like I said previously, how flexible are they? So scope is scope, and the scope in the agreement is there. But if there's something that requires them to go a bit out of scope to make things better and help you out, will they do that? So then we get to pricing. And the way I look at it is there are really four components of outsourcing. There's full service, which is everything from soup to nuts. There are components of the revenue cycle process. So it might be just getting your claims out the door to the payer. It might be just responding to denials. It might be working on your AR that you have billed when your AR hits 30 days or 60 days or 90 days or something like that. They grab it and they work it. There's projects. So you may have a cleanup project that needs to be done. AR that needs to be evaluated. Is it collectible? Go out and collect it and advise on what needs to be written off. And then there's consulting. So, they would come in, look at your process, run reports out of your system, and, help you, improve your processes. So when I think about this and I think, okay, what are potential pricing models? Certainly percentage of collections, fixed price, a per transaction fee, and hourly. So these can be used as a single pricing model, or they could be mixed and matched. So percentage of collections is certainly a highly advantageous one because they have skin in the game. So if they're getting paid based on what they collect, chances are they're going to pay the highest level of attention. Downsides are there are certain states where this isn't allowed, New York and Florida, most notably, in the Medicaid world. So they're afraid of upcoding and things of that nature, afraid of fraud. So you're not allowed to charge or pay a percentage of collections in those states. So you have to go to one of the other models. Then there's fixed price. So the fixed price could be on a monthly basis, a weekly basis. We have a project that we just started at a fixed price per week because it's a short-term project, and we figured out what the level of support is that they need, and the customer felt comfortable with a fixed price per week. You could charge per transaction, in terms of per invoice or per client per month, things of that nature. So it's something that you have to think through, ask for different models. How would it look in that model? Do you even work in that model? And see what works best for you. Or it could be an hourly rate. And that hourly rate could be a consolidated hourly rate for all personnel assigned to that. Or it could be individually, either by person or a compiled rate based on the configuration of people assigned to your contract. So it could work in a lot of different ways. And then these could be coupled with different. They could be mixed and matched with each other. So, for instance, a fixed price could be within certain guardrails, and you can. Between certain volume levels, you're going to pay a fixed price per month. But then if your volume goes above that, either there's a percentage add-on or there's a per transaction charge for the volume of transactions over and above what's covered by the fixed price. Could be an hourly rate coupled with that. Another good one is a bonus. So, a fixed price per month. And then if the provider comes up with, the performance that you require, if they hit certain metrics of performance, maybe they get a bonus for that. So it kind of, supports all worlds is in that, you get the safety of a fixed price, but there's an incentive for the provider to perform to a certain level because they get a bonus. And I've even seen where there's penalties, where if they don't achieve a certain performance in a certain specified period of time, there could be a rate reduction until that performance goes back to the goals that you have established in the agreement. So what about the agreement? Certainly there are components to the agreement that should be in every single one. So just from a legal perspective, a business associate agreement where you're giving them the authority to use your data and collect your data and work with it. A non-disclosure agreement where they're not going to disclose anything about your agency or the elements of your agreement with them, which goes and ties back into confidentiality. They're not going to share or sell protected health information on your client and patient base. The statement of work, very important. So it's, here's everything that we're going to do for you. This is, we're going to work, here's the process elements. Here's what you're going to get. Here's the cadence of the reports. Here's what types of reports you're going to get. Here's the cadence of the meetings, be they weekly, monthly, etc. The scope will be flexible in case there's anything else you need, etc. What kind of data are they going to send you? So what metrics are they going to provide to you, and what kind of metrics are going to be used to manage them on an ongoing basis? Now, the management of this we'll talk about in part 3, which is in a couple more weeks. But, so what kind of metrics are they going to generate? What kind of reports are they going to generate? And how often are we going to get together? Any additional terms, conditions, assumptions? Are there requirements of what you have to provide? Do you have to respond to their questions within a certain period of time, maybe 24 hours, 72 hours? Do they have to perform certain things within a certain time frame? Do they have to post your payments within 24 hours or 48 hours? Do they have to respond to your questions in a certain period of time? And then, of course, the fees and payment terms that we discussed. Term and termination. So what's the term of the agreement? It could be short, it could be, a minimum of 1 year. How long do you have to stay with them? How long are they locked in with you? And are you locked in with them? What are the conditions under which either party can terminate? So if they're not performing to expectations, do you have the right to terminate that agreement before the end of the term? Or are you locked in with them for the entire period? And vice versa, if you're not living up to your end of the agreement, can they terminate because of your lack of participation, they can't perform the way they need to, can they make the decision to walk away from the agreement? Who owns the material? So who owns the data? Who owns the reports? Who owns anything that's developed over the course of the agreement that supports you? Does that have to come back to you at the end of the agreement? Do they own it, etc.? And then what are the warranties? So typically from an agency's perspective, a customer's perspective, typically customers have to warranty that there are no outstanding audit issues, survey issues, etc. And if there are that impact billing, you will notify the vendor within a certain particular period of time, and what your remediation plan is and what the outcome is of that plan. And then on the other side, it covers the things that we talked about. So data protection, performance, and things of that nature. So that's it for part 2. Part 3 is on May 16th. We're going to talk about, once you're in an agreement with a partner or a vendor, how do you manage them? What's the process look like? How are you making sure that you're getting what you need and what you intended to get out of that relationship? So just a little discussion on Sandata revenue cycle management. We are an outsource service offering of Sandata. And we talked about the advantages, so enabling agency growth. Certainly we conform to all of these, and we enable our agencies to accomplish what they want to accomplish through outsourcing their revenue cycle. So you can focus on your growth, you can focus on client care, you will gain a better profile with your payers, certainly increase profitability, because we proactively manage your claims, we get your denials resolved, we maximize your revenue, and we improve the performance of your cash cycle. And then we're giving you the support that we talked about. So, reporting, financial compliance, supporting you closing your books, getting documentation together for audits, and providing you with the insights that you need, that we glean from being engaged and actively managing your revenue cycle. And that is it for the presentation. Any questions? Give it a minute for questions. We have a minute left. Certainly, any questions, feel free to reach out to us. My email address is phil.feldman@sandata.com, or you can contact us through these contacting means. Thank you very much, and glad to have the opportunity to present to you. Take care, be well, bye-bye.